Hello, everybody. My name is Oleg Brega. I'm a human rights activist from Republic of Moldova, and you are watching a talk show using YouTube and Google Hangout, which is hosted by Courage.tv, a human rights project. We wanted to have a discussion about the role of women in public area, in public life, especially in the politics. We had a discussion in this issue, on this topic, several months ago, and we said we need to talk about it in English with Francisc and his wife, who are in Madrid or in Spain. And we've also invited other people to join our discussion in English. So I welcome also Anishara Kiriak, who lives also in Chisinau like me, and teenager Alexandru, who is also from Chisinau. Maybe somebody else will join our discussion. We have other 6 places free to join this discussion. We think we have to talk about this. Yesterday or last days, we almost have had a woman as US president. We have a president in Estonia. We maybe will have a president woman in Moldova. Germany has the second term chancellor, also a woman. So this is a phenomenon. This is happening now. A lot of women are involved in politics. Even UK has, the first time in history, a prime minister woman. Francis says in Czechia there is a prime minister or president, also woman. So we have to deal with it. We have to talk about it. How come so many women started to get involved, to participate in the public life? Because we know a century ago they even didn't have the right to vote. And in the politics they still are not so many. What's your attitude in this issue? I have to say, even though I'm a kind of moderator here, but I am a feminist. I even like the feminine movement. I support women in the politics. Maybe you have another position. Maybe you are upset on this situation. Maybe you want to stop women to be involved in the politics. What's your opinion? What's happening in the world? What's happening in Moldova, Romania, France, Spain, or maybe in US? What's happening in this with this mankind, the female half of the mankind? What are they doing? What are we doing? We are 3 men here, 2 women in this discussion, and 24 persons are watching us. Maybe some of them are women. Maybe Elena will also join our discussion, so we can count 3 women, 3 men in this discussion. So let's start the discussion. Who wants to be first?
Okay, hello to everybody. The world who watch our live stream right now. I'm glad there are 24 people they watching that may have also they can chat there in the section on YouTube, and I would like to see their opinion about this subject. Well, personally, I find this way of women trying to involve in politics, I think, in my opinion, I think we need that because in any country in the world, there are not only men, but also women, and it should be a part of representative in the government or parliament. And also that brings diversity, because women, they may see different than men. They can have a different point of view about some problems they have to deal in the government. And also that can be great because women, they will be representative in the politics. So I encourage that. I know that in Moldavia, a woman named Maya Sandu, she ran for presidential. I see that she have good, she have some success. She have support from the electors, yeah, and that can be a new breath for the country. Also, that can be a good example for other women to try to involve in politics, and that can bring also changes. Yeah, it can be a lesson for the other politicians to understand they cannot monopolize the government. There should be women too, because we are equal, and that's great for me. Yeah.
We are welcoming also Konstantin Rogai, who joined our discussion, and I asked him if he wants to talk. Let the microphone be switched on. If you want only to listen to our discussion, please switch off the microphone. Or even you can watch us on YouTube on Curaj.tv. I'm afraid you can't use your microphone. If you can't manage this problem, you should find the settings on this level and just activate your microphone. Otherwise, you can't be heard. You can write a message on the chat or leave the place to others to participate in the discussion. Now, Alex and Shara, what are you thinking about? Why is it good, okay, for women to be involved, or is it, or it is not? Konstantin left us. Maybe he will find the microphone later.
Hello.
I agree with Francesc. Women need to be involved because men will decide in their favor if only they will be in the power, especially in the questions, in the problems regarding women. That's why women have to participate, at least to defend their interests. Alexander, you want to add something?
Hello, everybody. I could participate in this discussion. As I heard, is this woman here that is candidating like a president. I think she can do something for Moldavia if she will be president. We are all supporting her over here. And I heard now the women are more active. Are more active in the public life because they don't want to be with this sexism thing, or how it's saying. And if you heard about this group of the initiative feminist, or how it's saying, I heard about it. They want to be more active in the public life. That's all I can say for now.
I can only notice that still no woman did participate in our discussion, even though we have at least 3 here, if we take into account Elena also. So all the men said something, contributed to this discussion about women's role in the society, but still no women.
Okay, what do you
Yeah.
say? Okay, I can add something to that on my own, and it is, as you say, it is really a phenomenon that we're encountering now that it's the 21st century and the modern world has accepted the women the same way as men. What I have to say about that is the following. Women have the same capacity, strength, and orientation as anyone else in the society, not just men. You still have all kinds of members in any society. The fact that the chance is now being brought up is really what has awakened the great monster of women becoming active in almost anything. Because anything a man can do, a woman can do, or maybe even better. The fact is that not always you're going to find the right woman to take over these important tasks. The reason I say that is if we compare some of the women who have been already elected president or prime minister against some other who haven't and who have completely crashed at their attempt, which is what happened with Hillary Clinton, the main reason is pretty much behind the profile of this character more than the fact that they are women. So they're not getting disqualified necessarily because of being a woman, but mainly because of their profile or their character. Because there is an important fact that society does understand very well. Women don't only have one task in society. They're not only workers, but women are mainly who take care of everything: family, kids, administration. So there are too many tasks for one single individual. And the task, a leading role in a country is more than just a burden for a woman. So if you don't have the right person, it's doomed to fail. So I think that's I just want to bring that up as an aspect to have into consideration.
Yeah, but the point is that a woman, she can have the same potential like a man to
Yeah.
lead, to deal with the problems of the country and the government. So
To have any leading role, not just presidency, to have any leading role. And it's been proven that women can do a much better job. However, most of the women who have recently been elected on a leading role don't last any more than 4 years. The only few cases that have been seen are in the Philippines, where the majority of the population is female, or in India, which has a similar population division. Majority of the people of the population or part of the population are female. So that's really the only reason why they last longer than 4 years. So do women get easily burnt out in these type of roles, or is it something that a nation can't handle? That's pretty much the question. Or is it related to the profile of the individual more than the fact that they are a female?
considering it's a new opportunity in the society, because not long time ago, women, they were persecuted. Yeah, they were even allowed to vote, for example. So I think the world changed slowly, and the fact women, they candidate, it's a good beginning to prove that it's possible to do it.
It's only because...
Of course, the society takes longer time to accommodate or to understand or to be educated about that women can be a good workers too. And it's not only about being a president or working in the parliament, but also being in public institutions. you know, where you can have a position with big responsibilities. And the point is that women also, they have the same potential as men, but all they need is to have the chance to prove that.
They have the same potential and the same right to do it.
Of course, yeah.
So my only concern is that women in politics or active roles are just like every other minority group out there. Mainly the role is reflected, or the main profile that you have for these roles are white male or male within any country. So anything new is subject to be scrutinized more than anything else, and they're going to be criticized more harshly than any other profile. Why? Because it's different. And the fact that we make a difference as a society is really where the debate is. Why does it have to be different? Why does it have to be a distinction within a candidate? Oh, it's a female or a male. If it's a candidate, it's just a candidate. As a candidate, do they pose the profile that is needed or not? Not as a male or as a female. That's really my concern.
But what do you think, Shara? Do we need a special woman to be elected, or we should elect any women because they have to be in the top level decision?
Well, I think, I don't know, going to the point that you said, Caroline, about that we shouldn't care whether it's a female or male candidate as long as their profile fits well. Well, my concern is that I think this mentality goes well in well-advanced countries where gender equality has been achieved. When we talk of less developed country, or even America for that instance, I'm concerned that this deeply rooted gender ideas and gender specifics might actually deter women from going to more advanced positions, just because sometimes these gender stereotypes are so deeply rooted in ourselves that we cannot even identify it. And in this instance, I'm wondering to what extent men can actually dismiss a woman's profile just because even though they may not acknowledge this, they still feel that she may be more emotional because she's a woman. There are some characteristics that go together with being a female. And in this instance, I tend to agree that to a certain point, until this world becomes, definitely achieves this large goal of gender equality, we have to empower women to become more active. I mean, maybe for well-developed countries like Iceland, like Canada, like even northern countries in Europe, yeah, they might be pretty well on that category. Meanwhile, even Europe, even United States, they have some troubles, and this is why there are certain organizations, there are certain initiatives that tend to empower women to go into politics, to go into different sectors, into the economics, the IT categories. And this is why I think it's still necessary to take into account that when a woman is a candidate, even for political or any other position, it is important because she went beyond that gender stereotypes that might have stopped her. And I don't think at this point we should disregard their gender. I think it's still important to emphasize when a woman runs for president, prime minister, or wherever, when we will achieve true gender equality, we will criticize, we will just emphasize their profile, their agenda, their political promises, whatever. So that's my opinion so far.
What should we do? How can we fight the stereotypes about the women's role in the family, in the society, in the politics? How can we help women to be more involved, more important?
Well, first of all,
the danger from?
I think, again, it really depends on the area. For instance, in Eastern Europe, you have to give women this idea that they can be self-sufficient in terms of economics, in terms of social position. For instance, a woman, if she's expected to stay at home with a child, it's very less likely that she will have the courage to run for a political position. And this is why we have to firstly help them to become confident, and then from that goes economic empowerment, entitlement, and from this you can support her, even help her to realize if she wants a political career. Of course, it's not for everyone, but then I think it's a step-by-step process. It's an ongoing process of empowering women, entitling them, and basically telling them from a very early age that you can do it, you have to do it if you want to, and no one can stop you if you're actually determined to do it. And gender plays absolutely no role, especially for women. I mean, these gender stereotypes have to be disrupted from a very early age, or even better, not even inculcated into their education. And I think that's one way. The other way, there are certain national, international piece of laws which require political parties, entities that have 40%, 50% of their political agenda comprised of women. And in this case, there is better chance of them getting into actual party lists and getting into parliament, government, whatever. And I think for the next years, at least in Moldova, there is a plan to lobby the government, the parliament, to actually put these women not just on their party lists, because they usually tend to go below. So that means the men, again, are top 5, top 10, and then women go like at the end of the list. So what we're trying to do now is to actually pressure political parties to put women in top positions on their party lists. So that means if a parliament gets 6 seats if a party gets 6 seats in the parliament, there have to be at least 3 women out of those 6 MPs. And I think that's a pretty good legislation for now. I mean, if we look even at Canada's Prime Minister's cabinet, we see that it's so diverse, it's so gender equal. I think it's a true example for all of us, even though Moldova is definitely far from the Canadian model, but there's a lot of stuff we can learn from them and from the Prime Minister, who has so nicely brought together people with disabilities. Half of them are women, half of them are men. They're from all ethnicities. It's indeed very nice.
But not only the law is the problem. I'm afraid the traditions, the culture also force women to stay home, to get married, to grow up children, and not to go in the politics.
Well, I said the first thing we have to do is to empower them, give them a sense that all the gender stereotypes they have learned throughout their childhood, their teenage years, are not true, are not right. So this is the main probably part, and the first thing we have to do. And then the second one comes the national and maybe international legislation context, because this tends to be quite important as well, because you might be very ambitious, you might know your rights pretty well, but then if the system, if the whole, I don't know, bureaucracy puts you in so much trouble, it's again less likely that you will succeed. So I think it's a mix of factors that go together, and they have to be pretty balanced, all of them. The traditions, the legislation, the general atmosphere in the country regarding this, how much pressure there is from international entities on the country to implement this, and so on.
I think also the fact that, I mean, I agree with most of the things that you've said before, but the most important fact starts, or the most important aspect of it starts with the women itself. The fact that women in these days feel the need and still have bred well within their brains that their main target in life is getting married and having kids is really where the problem starts. Because if you have no other objective in life, no other purpose in life, it doesn't make much sense for you to try to have a public life. It doesn't make any, there's no point in even starting it out. That's the first thing. And secondly, like you said, it is evident that in developed countries, it works. The model does work, where women are empowered and they have their strength. But culturally, these countries have in fact bred out the possibility and have spread out the possibilities well since kids are young, to understand that the women and men have exactly the same possibilities and exactly the same access to nearly any political career or non-political career. In these countries, you do see men who stay home. In these countries, you do see men who take care of the kids while the woman goes out and works. So that strategic way of working things out, I think it's more oriented to discipline. And unfortunately, our Western countries don't have any discipline. We don't believe that a woman can do anything without the help of a man. We women are the ones who raise boys, and these boys grow up with this mentality. So it starts with us. You can't tell your kid who's 5, he's a boy, and you can't tell him, oh, you can't wash dishes because you're a boy. And that's where everything starts. The ones who wash the dishes are girls. If you start creating that difference from a very young age, culturally, well, evidently, by the time they grow up, they're not going to think a woman is capable of doing anything on her own. And if something goes wrong, it's going to go wrong, or people are going to say it went wrong because she's the woman. They're not going to say it went wrong because something went wrong. No, they're going to blame it on the fact that she is a woman, which is something you don't hear coming out from a man. When people say, when something goes wrong in any country, after any presidential decision, they don't say, oh, it went wrong because he's a man. They'll blame it on something else. So the whole growing up aspect is really what's creating the more damage and creating the barrier that women can't truly cross. And we are part of that barrier, because we are the ones creating this mentality in men and boys.
In my opinion, I think women from the society, they don't involve enough to support or to encourage another women who want to build a career in politics, for example. They are not very active in making community, you know? That's something normal in Western countries from Europe, and not only from Europe, but also in Australia, Canada, United States. And that because, of course, is because the different mentality. But I think it's very important when a woman, she wants something, she wants a career to be in politics in this case, because that's the subject about. I think it's very important the community, the women's community, they have to support, to show that they are not alone. And
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, and that
women, they are, most of the time, they have other priorities. They are busy with taking care of the family. Of course, if a woman, she hear every day you are good for nothing, or you should cook, you don't take your responsibilities, that's discourage them, and in the end, she will not be active.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. One of the other aspects that we see every day is that women are majority of countries. Like in every country, the majority of the population is female. So why is it that having so many females, there are so very few leaders? And the fact resides in the very own character of women, which is what I was mentioning before. Women are, in general, competitive with each other. There is a level of disregard between one woman or the other, because by nature, women are competitive. So instead of supporting each other, as women should do, and as men do with each other, what we do is compete with each other. I can do it better, or I have better shoes, or I look better. And that very same mentality is what doesn't help the other one grow. It's like a box of crabs. One pulls down from the other and no one gets anywhere. That's just part of the character. So the mentality has to change, not just in male, but female as well. And I think mostly in female. I think that's the reason why we are becoming more active in much more, like in more popularized countries or developed countries, but in the minority of, like majority of countries, we still feel like women have to compete with each other. And the fact that we constantly compete with each other doesn't let anyone get anywhere.
But that's not only about the women, it's also men used to do that. So I don't know how much it matters.
So this issue is a men's problem, or it's only women's task to get involved? What should the men do? What should the fathers do with their children, girl, or their boys' children? How should they educate them to change the situation, at least in the future? What is done wrong now?
Both, I think there's an issue with both in general. But from my point of view, being in a country that is almost as developed as some of these countries, such as Spain or in Madrid, where we do have plenty of women in leadership roles. Actually, the vice president here is a female. What we should be doing is, instead of focusing on the fact that it's a female or a male, is capacitating and empowering the females instead of competing with each other. I think females have an important role in the upbringing of the modern societies, in the upbringing of the new generation. The newer generations in very traditional countries are still going on, or are still under the influence of tradition that men do certain things and women do certain things. And the responsibility of upbringing the children is in mothers. So that's really where I think everything should start, so that our future generations have more of a broadened or open market, so to speak, for women. One, and two, I think also men have the same responsibility to empower women, because usually men in our modern society and in this generation still laugh when a woman says something in public, still finds it funny, or it's a mockery to them, a woman saying something which is evident or which might be true. But because it's coming from a woman, it's automatically disregarded. It's automatically funny, or it's a reason to mock. Like we see almost every day. If a woman says something, generally men laugh. Why? Because it came from a woman, and you don't have in their view or in their mind, you don't have the capacity to analyze something the same way a man does. We still live in a very sexist society. The fact is that, for example, in the United States right now, I don't think it was, as my family clearly says, that it wasn't a matter that Hillary lost. It was more a matter that Trump won. And the reason behind it was solely because it was a female profile who had nothing to offer.
Well, I disagree with that. Wherever, she still was voted by a lot of people. So you cannot say that.
True, she was voted, the general vote was won by her, but because most of the Senate and the Congress is pretty much ruled by Republicans, which is majority male, something different happened. How can a person...
I don't think it's related to that.
It is pretty related. How can someone who has been building a career for 40 years lose over someone who took politics as a hobby a year ago, who had absolutely no regards for minorities, and who created such an ambiguous and aggressive politics win? The reason behind it, it's not only because the Democrats had little to offer, but it was because the profile of this woman just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough. If I wanted to be the president of such a big nation as the United States, I should be able to offer something, any change, even if it's bad, like Trump did. Even if it's bad, she should have been able to offer something. And the fact that she wasn't aid, she didn't get any kind of help from more experienced candidates, really went down for her. Like that really affected her. That's just my view.
We salute the involvement, the participation of Victor Samsonov in our discussion. I hope he speaks English and he will add some important ideas. Before that, I'll read Elena's comment. She is here, but she doesn't want to talk on camera. She says, or she wrote, till recently, women were not allowed to power at all. Women had to go to school, or those schools were separate for women. And in those schools, they would learn mainly to read, croquet, cook, languages. I think the first women who broke the ice were those who were empowered or encouraged at home, either by their own mother, example, or their dads, let them do that. Women considered important in their lives. So this trend is growing in power. Technical evolution allowed women not to spend all their time cooking or at home. Even more nowadays, it is not a requirement to have kids or a family, and women got free, spare time, financial independence. And it's a matter of time till women will have their place in the society revised. I know, for example, continues Elena, that Margaret Thatcher, were discussing her future plans with her baby when she was a kid and living in India. Her dad even gave her good advices. So it's important to have, as woman, intelligent father and mother, and maybe brothers. Victor Samsonov left us, and we are the same 4 or 5 or 6 who started this discussion. We have more than a half an hour. Since we started this discussion, maybe I have to check on Courage.tv if there are some comments coming from our viewers. If not, we can just make some conclusions and finish it. If people don't want to join and to add their opinions. Comments in chat, but it's only in Romanian, and people just comment the way we are talking in English.
Maybe most of them they don't understand.
Maybe, yeah.
This language.
More than 25 viewers. Now it's only 10 to 13. We wait for maybe Romanian or Russian at least. Maybe we'll talk about this in Romanian or Russian later. Another day, another time. The risk, if we'll start to talk in Romanian, a lot of people will try to make political propaganda, but in Moldova we have a silent day before the elections, so we are not allowed to talk about the candidates and the political situation here. That's why we decided to talk in English and to be as international as possible.
I want to add something here about what I said before. I think that the fact women, they are some way persecuted, it's also because the society is not well educated to handle that. I think it takes a lot of time. It's a slow job, you know. We still live in a society where a lot of people actually, and that's wondering, they still care about the skin color, for example. Yeah, and when you try to bring something new, you will be like a taboo for them. So I believe that the fact women, they try to candidate and involve more and more, it's a good sign. It's a good way to educate the society that we can be different. We can have something new, but it takes time. It takes time. And it's sad. For example, if a candidate run for a position, most of the people, they are not worried about what this person, this candidate can bring more than what is he or she, you know. For example, if a person represent the rights of LGBT community, for most of the people it doesn't matter that this candidate wants to change to improve the corruption level, yeah, to destroy that. They care about that he's gay. I don't understand why people, they accuse the person as who is it instead of what he can do, and that it's boring me, you know. It's bothering me. It bothers me. So I hope now from this conversation, women, they can understand that they can do more than they thought or people they say they can do.
And also regarding the electing political positions, we have to change our mind as electors and not to give a vote for a candidate thinking about him or her as a woman or a man, but taking into account the experience or the skills, the integrity, also the intentions Elena adds. We can continue the discussion about the sensitiveness of the women or the differences between the psychology of the women and the men, but I think there are a lot of men who are very sensitive. They can even cry. We can even cry. So don't think about the women. They are only sensitive in this world, so they are not good for the politics. I also think political life can be sensitive, fair, peaceful, and there is no need of fighters and warriors and killers there. Thank you very much to everybody. Sandu, you wanted to add something at the end?
Yes, I wanted to say, and the women's and the men should have the same rights. They all must have responsibilities. Carolina, I want to say, if you mentioned that only the men's rob, I think, and the woman's rob too. So you don't know exactly.
Okay.
Well, she didn't understand what you were trying to say.
Robbing?
Yeah.
Stealing the money, public money, maybe?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
definitely, I mean, it's what corrupts people is power. So it doesn't matter if they're female or male. It's been proven that women can be even smarter doing it. just as some men do it bluntly, some
It
women
isn't.
do it even in worse stages, like what happened in Argentina, where you have cases where the president is accused of murder. So the same way that a man can be vile, a woman can be, and even worse, more discreet. So that's maybe a discussion for a different day, but women do have, in my view, more structured way of being evil should they want to be evil. They could be even worse and more vile than some men, which is another reason that really affected for example, the example of the elections in the United States. Another,
Yeah, but we cannot generalize.
we cannot generalize.
That's not related.
That's why I said it could be something for a different day, because women
That's
do
not
have
related
capacity.
to the gender, you know. If you are honest, you can be a man or a woman. If you have the skills to be there and you deserve it, you can make a good job. But if you are not honest, even wherever you are a woman or a man,
Well, take the
doesn't
example
matter.
of the Empress Sissi from Austria. I mean, seriously, this woman was just vile. And it wasn't because she was a man or because she was a woman, it was just her character. So that's something for a different day.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But, yeah,
Now,
definitely there's the same chance.
just make a guess. This turbo cat is a male or a female?
I do get that maybe by his pointy ears, it might be a female. Am I right?
No. It is Nash.
I'm not good at defining that.
And it's a boy,
Uh,
turbo cat. Thank you.
Turbo cat.
Thank you very much to everybody. I hope we'll continue this kind of discussions in English. Maybe we'll continue also in Russian or in Espanol. I can't speak Espanol, but maybe you.
We cannot speak Russian neither.
I can try to
Okay,
speak
but-
Romanian, but I'll just use my Google Translate.
She speaks better Romanian than I speak Russian. So
Uh-huh.
I can speak even Spanish.
That sounds good.
I said
Okay.
can't.
You can't. Sorry. It's a little off here. Can
Okay.
understand.
Let's try to learn languages. Let's try to learn democracy. Let's try to involve more women in the public life. Let's do our best. Thank you very much. Good night.
Night.
good night.